The majestic Pacific Northwest, an area rich with all its unique splendid beauty. From the plains of eastern Washington and following the Columbia River Basin, bringing you to the breathtaking Puget Sound region. Protecting the wonders of the Puget Sound waters and islands are the volcanic mountains. Though lying dormant, these pillars keep a watchful eye over all living things that lie beneath. With the state's natural border, the Cascade Mountain Range lays a physically monstrous division of one side of the state to the other, with the captain Mount Rainier above all. On the other side of the Puget Sound stands the Olympic Mountain Range. With both its peaks and rainforest climate, it begs the question, what are all of these natural titans and wonders protecting?
People knew that there were animals with tentacles 25 feet long and that they were out there, and we just had to figure out why. They capture our imaginations, and they are very hard to fully dislodge from the depths of our imagination.
Welcome to the Kitsap Literary Artists and Writers of Washington in its monthly showcase. I'm your host, Mark Miller. Today, I have the distinct pleasure to interview a friend and associate creative, Samantha Hanna. Samantha is an actor, filmmaker, screenwriter, and producer on a unique project near and dear to my heart. In the name of transparency, I wrote a sci-fi series about alien cephalopods, which I just mutilated, otherwise known as octopus, invading the United States. Then I found out that Samantha was producing and creating a documentary on the Pacific giant octopus. I knew I had to have her at BCAT for an interview and some film clips. We met at Tacoma Filmmakers and Screenwriters some years ago, and I've followed her creative career ever since. Samantha, glad that you could make it once again. Haven't seen you in a while.
Thank you for having me.
So we start with the standard question we always ask everyone in the Claw hot seat. How did you first catch the creative bug? Did you begin as an actor, a writer, or a filmmaker first?
Well, I think I was born creative.
Oh, explain.
Well, I've just always been that way. I've always thought creatively, and I've just always been a creative person. My first love is writing.
Okay.
I've always written. I started writing poetry when I was in first grade.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you published any poetry yet? Or?
No, I'm too scared. I'm getting over it.
You're going to have to talk to me after we do this because...
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'll send examples to my publisher. Maybe we can get her to do it. When you and I first met, you had just completed an acting role in, I called it a mystical religious horror film with your cohorts of crime. Can you tell the...
Oh, the noir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell the audience about that film experience and see you used the correct term, the noir,
Yeah,
the horror noir.
well,
Do you think
yeah.
I could remember that? No.
Well, you're correct also. It's a little bit of everything. It was just kind of everything mashed into one movie. But it was fun to do it, but I don't love acting. So
okay.
that I do that to support my other half in his dream, but I'm not really an actor and I don't really adore it. I did have fun making that movie though, And it turned out to be a good movie, and I'm glad I did it.
There you go. Now to the part about what in Japanese is teiko or calamari. How did you become interested in the giant Pacific octopus?
Well, I grew up in Pierce County around the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, and growing up, we always heard there was an octopus under the bridge that was 600 pounds and had been there forever. And so I had to know, and I did my research. And the more I researched about these creatures, the more I wanted to know. And they're just very cool, very interesting, and that's kind of how it started.
Cool. These little guys that are sitting here, believe it or not, when they were having the big golf tournament in Chambers Bay, they were selling these all over the place. So I had to get them because I wrote a sci-fi series with intelligent octopus and squids invading and everything. So they were really pushing that story back then to get, about there being a giant octopus under the Narrows Bridge.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular story. I remember when I worked down at the beach at Titlow, and people would come in there and be like, "Is there really a giant octopus out there?" and point to the bridge. I actually had to look it up to see if that was actually even possible for an octopus to be that big.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the whole film.
Yeah.
You do have a trailer, a teaser for your work.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
A couple, 3.
The mystery and the mythology of the octopus really came to the forefront, and I knew that I was going to be diving in these waters and trying to explore what lies under the surface.
Can an octopus get up to 600 pounds? I think it's entirely possible. It's not been documented, but so much of our ocean is undocumented that who's to say that isn't entirely plausible.
The giant Pacific octopus is not a species that's evaluated, and that's one of those things that, takes into account the populations of these animals in our waters.
I found an octopus in a den. Turned out it was a female that had laid eggs.
In the years that I've been diving, many years, I've been fortunate to dive around a lot of this planet. There's areas I've yet to go. And I've witnessed some bad things and some good things.
There is nothing more heartbreaking than being 50 or 60 feet down, looking in caves, and you're looking for an octopus, and instead you find plastic.
I assume that there probably are not as many octopus now for a variety of reasons, whether it's climate change or pollution or overfishing or whatever.
I'd say as far as this region, in our Puget Sound, North Pacific region, I've seen a loss of some habitat that is disturbing. We're losing kelp. We've lost eelgrass beds, which are critical.
I had heard about Tacoma's octopus. I had heard people mention, the Narrows and all the octopus that are at the bottom. I would try to find something at the bottom, something cool, and it was inevitably I was hunting for an octopus.
What would you say was the most exciting part about you creating this film? Exciting or interesting, however you want to call it.
That is so hard. There's so many. Great people I interviewed, very knowledgeable, and the things that I learned were pretty fun. It was all just a great experience. I don't think I could pinpoint one specific thing. It was my first time directing a movie by myself, so it was just a great experience. All of it.
Did you talk, if I remember rightly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you talked to somebody from the Seattle Aquarium?
I planned on it, but I never actually did. my first place that I went was Seattle Dive Tours.
Oh, okay.
And they gave me some amazing interviews.
Well, because they actually see it in the wild.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So mostly I interviewed divers. I went to Friday Harbor and spoke with a gentleman named Dominic Civitilli who does research on basically the mind and behavior of cephalopods.
Yeah.
And that was a really, really interesting experience. And actually he brings up, you'll love it, but he brings up how it relates to aliens.
Oh.
And why they think of that species of animal as another like alien life form.
Cool. And see, audience, she pronounced cephalopods correctly as opposed to me mutilating it at the beginning of this interview.
I've had a lot of practice.
I know. I should, because I wrote a whole science fiction series where I had to keep typing it. But there's one, I'm going to tell you a little story, apparently in Seattle Aquarium story that happened quite a few years ago. The people in the Seattle Aquarium would come in the morning and they suddenly started noticing they were missing fish from some of the tanks. And they're going, is somebody breaking in here stealing our fish? Because they were like tropical fish. They weren't exactly cheap. So somebody set a camera up. And all of a sudden, the next morning when they showed the film, this rather fairly good-sized octopus they had in this tank was crawling up the side of the tank, pushing the lid off, crawling all the way on the floor, going up into the other tanks, getting a snack, going back into his own tank. And then the morning they'd come in and he'd just sit there, nothing happened. And so they started, like I said, doing these intelligence tests with unscrewing the lid on the jars and all this stuff. So it's fascinating that you've got people that are actually in the scuba world that are actually now looking into that.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely. And a lot of scientists have now realized how smart that octopus really are. They're very smart, very smart.
And how are you finally going to edit the film?
So it has been edited already. That's what my other half, who's an indie filmmaker, does.
Oh, okay.
That's what he does. So he's really good at it. So I turned it over to him, and he edited, and then we had a composer do a score, put a score to it, and he did amazing. So I'm really excited to share it.
How long is the film going to be, you think?
I think it's around an hour 15.
Oh, good. So it's a nice, good, long documentary.
It's a nice, good one, yeah.
Good, okay, good. Do you plan to enter this into any film competitions or anything?
I considered that, but I decided that I didn't want to tie the film up and not have it. I was really excited to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
So I just really wanted to get it out there where it could be streamed everywhere and people could see it. So I chose not to do the festivals just because the ones that I looked into wanted to hold it for a certain period of time, and I didn't want them to do that.
Did they ever give you a reason why they wanted to hold it?
No, I don't know. Just while they're in the process of showing it, they just want it to be.
Oh, so you're not going to show it in the other place.
So I don't have it out there showing it around other places. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And not every film festival does that.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
some of them do.
You've got, with that type of documentary film, even once you finish it, you could still, and put it out, I think somebody can still submit it to certain specific documentary contests or awards or whatever.
And I may still do that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I may still do that. I don't know.
Well, I want you to.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Could you? Do you have any type of dream job or project that you'd want to do next? And what would it be?
Oh gosh. Well, I enjoyed the documentary process so much that I've considered several other ideas for other documentaries that I might do.
Well, I'm going to have to try to get it out of you.
Oh,
What's
you
some of your
are?
ideas? Yes.
Well, we met a gentleman not long ago on our podcast, and I'm really trying to convince him to let me do a documentary on him because his life is absolutely amazing and incredible. He basically he grew up running drugs in the drug cartel.
Oh, okay.
And he ended up turning his life around, being in a informant for the DOJ, and then he became a pastor, and now he's serving his community, basically paying back his debt to society for all the things that he did.
Yeah, I'd like to see that because, of course, I did for 30 years in law enforcement. And a lot of it was in the southwest border with the drugs and stuff, and how people would get trapped in that lifestyle because of the money and everything involved. Yeah. And then, like you said, all of a sudden they have to hit bottom. Until they hit bottom, whether we go to prison or suddenly see that, you know, they're hooking their neighbors and their friends on this stuff and everything, and then they build up. But it's nice to know that people have stories like that. And I have to admit, I'd like to see more stories like that about how people can get out of it, you know, and everything.
Well, yeah, he's got a book out. He wrote a book. It's called The Fox and the Lion's Den.
Oh,
and his name is Dr. Hal Bradley.
Oh,
and he's just an amazing, amazing, amazing person. So I highly recommend. It's a great read.
Okay.
I cried and cried and cried. I loved.
It's gotta be a good book then.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well,
I read it in one day.
Well, hopefully you can do that before somebody from some big.
I know. Well, they've already
film.
got him, but they're not doing a documentary. They're doing a series based on his life. But
so it's the docudrama, and the problem with docudramas, you know this, they have to accentuate all the weird stuff rather than what actually happened.
Yeah.
And so something is always lost in the process.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do the documentary, because I want to capture the real story.
Yep.
There.
Would you care to share any advice about your misadventures of both writing and filmmaking? We always like to hear horror stories.
Okay. Well, the reason why I'm afraid to put my writing out there and to the world is I don't do very well with criticism when it is, negativity. I don't do well with negativity. I do well with criticism when it's criticism. Right. But when it's negative and there's trolls out there and they just like to bash you and say horrible things about your art. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as bad art. Your art is your art, and it's not bad. No art is bad. It's just that it's someone's taste or it's not their taste. So I really disagree with people that go out there and say something bad about someone's art. And so I struggle with that a lot.
Okay.
So that's hard.
That's one reason I stopped going to writing critique groups, because everybody wanted you to write like they write.
Yeah.
Or like everybody wanted you to write like their favorite author and their favorite genre. And I try to tell everybody, that's why with Kitsap Literary Arts and Writers, we do more of an idea of, we want to help people get published or help just people get their stuff out there. We have beta readers, but we don't do critique sessions. Because like I said, everybody has their own idea what they want to read. And that's what's great, is there's enough stuff out there, you should be able to find something out there that you enjoy reading without, like you said, having to pick stuff apart like crazy.
Well, in school I learned with my poetry that I would oftentimes teachers would say, oh, it's not this kind of verse or that kind of verse, it's not, proper this or proper that. And I just felt like, well, it was my writing and that's how I write. And I wanted it to just be mine, and I didn't want to be told it wasn't what it was supposed to be.
Well, and see if you agree with this. Out of all the types of writing, poetry should be the most individual because of where it comes from. Out of all the types of writing, you expect poetry to come from your inner soul.
Yeah, and it does.
Yeah.
And that's right where it comes from. But I believe in people having the freedom to not be criticized about their art. I don't like that.
No, I understand.
So that's my struggle, and I have to get over that, because if I do want to share it, so I'm going to have to get over that, and I'm going to have to get used to trolls. And this is kind of my step into that world by directing this
There you
movie,
go. And what
because there will be people that will not agree with it.
What I'll
not
have
like
to
it.
do is to get an example of your poetry to send to my publisher, and they've got some specific ideas about poetry, but we can send it to them, and if they don't like it, they'll simply say, well, it's not good enough for us right now, and you don't take it personal, because they're not like these people that send you these nasty letters back going, oh, this really sucks, and stuff. So I'll have to try to keep convincing you.
It's something I need to actually learn to get better with, because I shouldn't let it bother me like it does.
Well,
it hurts my feelings.
Well,
I'm super sensitive.
Well, because it's like we said, it's part of your
Personal.
soul. It's personal.
Well, I've basically journaled. That's my poetry. It's my journaling.
Okay.
It's all my life experiences. Every time something happened, I wrote a poem. So it's
cool.
Yeah, that's what it is. So it is my soul. It is my heart.
I got to get you with my publisher, because she looks for projects like that, especially if people had hard or unusual lives. She likes to try to help them get published.
Well, that's all there. I definitely had a very trying growing up, but and a lot of people have. Well, a couple people, not very many people have read my writing, but I usually get the comment, it's dark.
But
so
sometimes
it's dark. But it's life.
But you're no longer dark now.
Oh no, that was my getting through. That was my journaling.
Exactly.
That's how I got through.
Good.
Yeah.
And so you've mentioned your one project that you've got planned with that the man.
I'm hoping. I'm
You're
crossing
hoping.
my fingers and hoping.
Anything else that you kind of looking for?
There's a couple other ideas that I have that I'm considering, but one of them is got a lot to do with a lot of ghost stories and stuff like that around this area. And
you're going to do a documentary on that?
Maybe. There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be perfect, because I'm one of these people that at night I listen to Coast Radio, the old Art Bell show, which is now somebody else took it over, but because you hear these people, and every once in a while they'll have somebody talking about ghost stories in a lot of the major cities, and of course Seattle always comes up, and the Pacific Northwest always comes up, and everything.
The weird and unusual.
Oh, exactly. So, yeah, I'm very pushy, so I'm going to push you towards doing the documentary on ghost stories.
Yeah, I really want to do that one. That one was next until Dr. Howell came into my life, and then
I understand that.
You meet him and you want to be around him, so.
There you go. How would the viewing audience find your work or contact you for a possible gig? Do you have any websites?
Yeah, we have a website, CCC Entertainment Group.
Okay.
And then we're on Facebook. The Giant Pacific Octopus has its own page on Facebook that you can that you can follow, and then you know when it's going to come out and whatever's going on and happening with it. We do updates on it regularly.
And of course,
so.
I didn't do my due diligence and look at that. I
That's
just wanted to get here to talk to you, so
It's all right.
Sorry, people.
It's there. That's where the information's at. So if you're interested in seeing the documentary, that's where to go to get the most updated information.
Okay. Well, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Then I want to thank you for coming to the BCAT Studios, and I hope to see your name on the other projects that you just mentioned, similar to the Great Pacific Octopus, in the public eye. I want you to please stay in touch, and we'll try to get you maybe back here as you do something else. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the viewing public?
Well, I just want to thank you for allowing me to come and talk to you. It's
Well,
fun.
I had to,
It's fun.
because I've got books about alien octopus.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
I had to do it.
It's right up your alley.
Yep. So I'd like to thank all of our viewers for tuning in to Bremerton Kitsap Access Television. in viewing this Kitsap literary artists and writers production. I wish to thank the BCAT staff on the cameras and the director's chair. They worked tirelessly to make this broadcast a success. This broadcast interview is scheduled for later in April on Channel 3 on Wave Cable Astound and Channel 12 on Comcast. Keep in touch with our Facebook pages for updates on what Kitsap author or creative we will be interviewing in the public in the future in the events that the authors and creatives will be attending in the community. We at CLAW have a mission statement to help writers, authors, artists, filmmakers become known to the public and expose their artistic endeavors to the residents of Kitsap County and the world. We plan to continue this endeavor as long as the BCAT staff and the viewing public support us. CLAW exists for all the creatives and artists to help with marketing, distribution, and publicity. We meet every month on the first and third Wednesdays at the Sparrow's Pizza on Kitsap Way in Bremerton, Washington at 7 p.m. All are welcome. Also, for filmmakers and actors, we have a related group, Kitsap Peninsula Filmmakers, which meets the second Tuesday of every month at the Family Pancake House on Wheaton Way, also around 6:30 to 7 p.m. I run that. Everyone is welcome. We are not the only group out there. There are many independent writers and critique groups in Western Washington. The Blue Forge Group, which encompasses films, publishing, comics, music, and artwork, strongly supports the arts in the Kitsap County area. Part of the group, Blue Forge Films, assists in moving many of CLAW's shows to YouTube and other internet sites. Blue Forge Press has been instrumental in helping me and others publish their works. I hope everyone has a pleasant day and a productive and fascinating year. Until next time, I'm Mark Miller with Kitsap Artists and Writers in conjunction with Bremerton Kitsap Access Television. Good day, and thank you very much for coming again.
Thank you. I think sometimes we forget how big everything really is and that we too are just tiny organisms in this entire ecosystem as a whole. It is up to us to give back and to protect and preserve what's left.
Our waters are in deep trouble, and it's going to take all of us collectively to come together and figure out a way to clean it all up.
I can't tell you how devastating it is to find an animal who's ingested plastic, or to see fishing line wrapped around an animal, or to see the scars. And with the octopus, unfortunately, they're so secretive that we won't see the entangled octopus. She'll simply recede and die.
Every time you pick up a piece of litter, especially on the beach, it reduces the amount of pollutants that are going into the water.
It was the last really rainy day I think we had around here for the longest time. But I didn't stop anybody from showing up.
All in all, we ended up with 810 pounds of garbage that we collected that day. As we said earlier, it had never been done before.
I assume that there probably are not as many octopus now for a variety of reasons, whether it's climate change or pollution or overfishing or whatever is probably many of the reasons for it, because the octopus needs a certain environment, certain temperature of water and nutrients and all that. So my assumption is that there probably aren't as many as there was 50 years ago.
It is not too late. Not yet. Now we know better. Now we know more. Now we need to fix it, or the future won't be there for anyone.